This is what it looks like where I'm at, and the snow is severely high. It is just wild. This is why at this moment in time I'm gonna cozy on up to a book, because this snow is ridiculous. Hope you guys are staying warm where you are, because this snow here, just take a look. Hold on, see if you can get a better angle of what it looks like. Okay, here's all the snow. Here's my foot, and it is gone. It is cold where I am. So I thought, what better day than today to discuss with you my TBL before I let go. Grab your snack, your hot beverage, or whatever it is, and let's get into this TBL before I let go. All right, besties, let's talk about Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. But let's get into this one because I love it. Before I Let Go is the second chance romance of all second chance romances, okay? We are following Yasmin and Josiah, and they are navigating life after getting a divorce, after a really hard, heartbreaking, and traumatic experience that they had to endure together, and they just weren't able to come out of it on the other side. This was a really interesting take on second chance romance, because from my reading experience, a lot of them usually focus on one widow, one single parent, one person who went through a really hard breakup. But here we're watching a divorced couple that not only has 2 children that they still have to raise together, they're also business partners. They own a restaurant together. You get to watch Yasmin rediscover joy and happiness with herself again, really lean on her girlfriends, and you really see the importance of having good girlfriends in your life. Then you get to also see Josiah navigating his own journey with being single. And while I have a lot of opinions about Vashti and that whole situation, I really love to watch his journey and also his struggle with therapy.
I finished Kennedy Ryan's Before I Let Go. And what can I say, man? Y'all wasn't lying. I really enjoyed the book. It had a lot in there, but it was tied in very well, though. Talked about grief, divorce, had some spice in there, second chance romance, some black entrepreneurship. Had a lot in there.
I love when an author lives up to the hype. But what Kennedy Ryan did with this book, I'm shocked. And Kennedy Ryan writes a type of representation that you can only get through sensitive research and personal experience. Like, you read this book and some of the experiences that these characters are going through, I'm like, she has to know firsthand. And you can feel Kennedy's story and her respect through the pages. The romance was so good. Like, within the first couple chapters, you're convinced that despite these divorce papers, these 2 characters are soulmates. Like, as a reader, you take on the insecurity that they both have about their relationship. And then all 3 of us just have to sit back and trust Kennedy Ryan to take the story where it needs to go. And I think that made the happily ever after even sweeter, because you truly felt what the characters are feeling. Like, you didn't know if they were going to overcome the obstacles that were in front of them to get back together.
So let's get into this TBL. It is so cold where I am, and it is a lot of snow that is coming down. Seriously. And the way that the snow was coming down, you had to consistently remove it. If you did not, it would be almost impossible to get through after all of the snow had completed. And I thought that it was done, but today, guess what? It is snowing some more. So I just like to stay cuddled and cozy in my home, and let's discuss this book. So one of my TBLs I have completed, and it is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. When I tell you, I love everything about this particular book. I absolutely loved everything about this book. Everything from the wording, from the couple and their love, and going through all of the things kept me wrapped up, right? Kept me angry. pleased with someone. And when I say everything about this book had me so excited to complete it, it kept me in tune with the book. Like I stayed focused. It did not lose my attention. Everything about this book was just wonderful. I love just to hear this love story between these two people in this book. And I just can't wait. Okay, let's just get into the book. This book tells a story of two people. A woman named Yasmin and her husband, Josiah. So Yasmin and Josiah were married. They divorced. And they have two kids. They have a 13-year-old and I think their son is 10. And they had divorced. They divorced due to loss of a child and losing the connection between the two of them in their marriage. This book is so amazing, the way that it transitions into them being divorced and newly divorced. And it tells a story of them getting back into the dating scene, but trying to pace themselves really and not really pushing the boundaries when it comes to dating. So in the book, there was, and also I wanted to mention that the couple owns a business together, a restaurant called Grits. And it's in Atlanta. And this couple still manages to be in the same space at this restaurant and be able to not always be, I guess, angry with each other, or there's a lot of confusion going on, if you will. And I love that because we all know it is or sometimes it can be hard to be mature out of a relationship. It is very difficult to be mature when going through a divorce or a breakup. And for these two to be able to exist and still have a business together is amazing. So they are still running this Grits business restaurant together. And really, Josiah is the one who's hands-on and he is consistently there all the time. Yasmin is pretty much hands-on with the kids and she's there some of the time because she is allowed, and it was agreed upon in their marriage that she would be allowed to predominantly take care of the kids, which is wonderful. I mean, it's the dream, right? So they have this understanding. And so when it comes to them running the business, I guess they're not always involved into each other's lives, daily lives, when while they're divorced and still working their business. So when things get tricky is that Josiah wants to start dating and he's pursuing somebody, but not just anybody. He's pursuing someone who works there at the Grits restaurant. Now, see, this is a red flag for me because I just absolutely just don't agree with doing things like that. So it happens. So he gets interested in a cook there at Grits, and this cook is amazing. He has interest in her. She has interest in him. So slowly they become an item and they start to date. When I tell you the awkwardness is awkward because not only does the wife still come there to work, but also she has to adjust to them two being together. That is messiness in itself. And I know that you can't really help who you fall in love with or become attracted to, but having it in the same place of employment as your ex-wife, and you know that she has to be there, maybe not consistently, but to see you guys together, that is messiness. I did not agree with that at all. So they also have a group of friends that are very supportive. Josiah has his friend who's very supportive, and then Yasmin has her two girlfriends who are solid. They are so supportive of her. And they walk through with them through the divorce, really. And it talks about mental illness. So when Yasmin, what really causes or starts the confusion within their marriage is that Yasmin experiences a loss of her baby. And how she experiences the loss of her baby is that she was in the restaurant by herself, and her husband wasn't there. He was away on a trip. So she slips, she loses the baby, and she goes through a depression where she just yearns for understanding. She yearns for trying to get through this very emotional time. And her husband is trying to reach her, but is not able to. She even pushes the narrative of trying to have another baby and not really fully getting over her other loss of her other child. And it talks about processing that all and how she had to start therapy and how the kids even go through things when it comes to the marriage and the divorce. And her 13-year-old daughter starts to resent her because of it. She feels as though her mother sabotaged their family, like she broke apart their family, and she resents her mother for this. And so she's having her own situations and handling this. And then they have their 10-year-old son who really feels disconnected because he has this thing with someone leaving him. And he hasn't quite processed the whole divorce. And how it comes about is that a teacher at his school identifies this and then speaks with the parents, and they get him into therapy. So the son is very hesitant to start therapy, but the father and the son have a discussion, and the father says, hey, look, if you go to therapy, I will go too. Yasmin is very shocked by this because she has always tried to get her husband into therapy to discuss what is going on with him emotionally, because he's never really processed the loss of their child either. So he shocks her and he goes to therapy with the son. Turns out Josiah really is invested in this therapy. And needless to say, it's working for him. So Yasmin also starts to date. But I think Yasmin is still connected to her husband heavily. They really both are. But it looks like Josiah is making an effort more so to date. And Yasmin is doing it in spite to just, I don't want to say have something to do, but yeah, have something to do and to get her mind off of her husband. And this whole thing is always a recipe for a disaster. So she's really not into the guy. The guy is actually a politician and he's divorced as well. So that's something they have in common. And that was different. That was a different dynamic to put in there. So needless to say that they go through a lot of these transitions. And what really brings the couple back together is that them and their investment partner scoped out a new restaurant that's in a different state, and they are interested in it. So they take a trip just to see what this restaurant is about because the owners are planning to sell it, and they have always wanted to venture or take the business to another level and expand it. So this was a great opportunity for them to do that. So they go to this location and they visit the place. The hospitality is rolled out for them. They have great wine. They have great food, but they have great drinks and they have great food at this location that they're mapping out. The couple has been together for decades and they've never married. So they are expressing their love and telling their love story to Yasmin and Josiah to the point where they say they never felt a need to be married. They never felt a need to be married because they felt like, and even raising kids, they felt like because they always knew what their relationship was. And they did not look to anyone else except for themselves in describing and kind of putting together what they wanted their love to look like. And this really was inspiring the couple because they were in this place where they were still searching, still longing for each other, still wanting each other, and not knowing really if they wanted to let their guards down to the other person, but always thinking that, right? So they have a hotel where there was a discrepancy while staying in this state and coming to view this restaurant. And they were supposed to have separate rooms, but turns out they have to have the same room situation. And Josiah's like, I'll sleep on the let out bed. That's fine. You can have the bed. Perfect. So they go to the hotel room. And of course, it does not work out like that. They end up connecting. They end up being in this space where they say that it's going to be one night only. And it turns out it wasn't one night only. It turns out it's another time while in the hotel, they experience each other. And they decide, hey, we're going to make this arrangement where we're going to just do this, connecting with each other in a sexual way. And it's just going to be about that. So they get back to Atlanta having this arrangement where they're sneaking around. They don't let the kids know. They're going in these little miscellaneous places, secret places to connect and hook up pretty much. And it comes to a point where they really realize how much they want to be together. They start really expressing how they feel towards each other. And it turns out that they both felt the same way for each other. But I think that when their connection was lost, they didn't take the time to appropriately, I guess, process and heal, have a therapist in their life, take their time to grieve. And a lot of the times, this is like so much like real life, because when you go through a loss and you are in a relationship or a marriage, I think it's most key and important to talk with that other person about what is happening. And if you don't, anger gets involved, emotions get involved, confusion gets involved, and you kind of start to separate and, I don't know, things get lost, right? So I feel like they just needed to have time to heal, to be able to connect with their feelings, and it all will work out. But to say the least, they repaired their family, and they end up getting back together. He proposed to her again, and this was just everything that I wanted it to be. I'm not really even into romances, but this did it for me. I feel like it had the right amount of everything in it. Like it went through all the motions. It had mental health in it. It had loss in it. It had love in it. It had community. It had family. I mean, it had food involved in it. Okay. So it was really a good time. And I think that's what really made me really enjoy the book, because I'm not a real sappy person, but it has to all flow, if that makes sense. So I hope you guys enjoyed me discussing Before I Let Go. I think I would give this for sure a 5-star. It did not lose me. It kept me connected from the beginning to the end. I could not wait to listen to this book whenever I got an opportunity. So I absolutely loved it. I give it a 5-star again. And I recommend. So if you're looking for a romance book that may not be too sappy, or just enough of the romance and everything else, this will be the one for you. So until the next time, I will be back with my next TBL discussion, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.